Alrighty, well, good afternoon. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Andrew Daphne. I'm the Instruction and Outreach Librarian at the New Jersey State Library. And with us again, back for another program is our Genealogy Librarian, Regina Fitzpatrick. Today, she's going to be talking about genealogy that you can do from home. It's kind of a little bit of a different take on the genealogy in quarantine presentation that she did last year and the year before. So she's got some new updates and things that she wants to share with you. So we're excited to have Regina back. Before we jump into her presentation, again, just some housekeeping items to go through in the beginning. We will be taking your questions at the end of the program, but if you have them, you can submit them at any time using the Q&A feature or the chat feature in the Zoom dashboard. Regina is continuing to curate a genealogy in quarantine document that has all of the information she's going to talk about, and she's going to provide a link to that in the chat so that you'll be able to go and then access all of that information. There will be a survey available at the end of the program. If you have time, we ask you please complete the survey. We always love hearing your feedback, and it really does help us kind of focus our programming and figure out, what's best for all of you and what you really want to see from us. And lastly, Regina does curate also our genealogy research guide that is basically your one-stop shop for all things genealogy. There's a link on the screen there, but I will make sure that the live link gets sent out to everybody as well in the chat once we get underway. One last thing for me, I just want to go over the Zoom dashboard in case anybody is unfamiliar. This is what your dashboard should look like if you're using a PC or a Mac. If you're using a mobile device, your dashboard may look a little bit different depending on the device you're using, but all of the features will still be there. In the bottom left corner, you have your audio settings. So in case you have any audio interruptions or you need to plug in headphones or anything like that, you can check your audio settings there to make sure that everything is working properly. At any point today, if you run into any issues, there is a raise hand button that you can hit in the middle here. Click on that, that'll alert me, and then I will get in contact with you and send you a message in Zoom and hopefully be able to resolve any issues that you are having. In regards to questions and everything, there is the Q&A and the chat buttons as well. You can click on either of those to send us your questions or your comments, and we'll be happy to take a look at all of that and address them at the end of Regina's presentation. So that is everything that I have for you. So I'm going to turn it over to
Thank you, Andrew. Everyone, just give me 1 second. I'm going to share my screen. I'm going into the PowerPoint, and I am sharing. And just very quickly before we start, I'm going to set a timer to keep myself honest because I don't actually want to spend too much time on our PowerPoint today. I want to spend more time online doing demos. So just give me 1 second and then we will start. Hi, everyone. I am Regina. I'm the genealogy librarian from the State Library. As Andrew mentioned, I designed a pandemic genealogy class about 1.5 years ago called Genealogy in Quarantine. And I decided that I wanted to update it and make it more general than it was. So the class has been transformed into something called Genealogy from Home. It is less pandemic focused and a little bit more general and classic, shall we say. So hopefully it will hold up well over time rather than being super pandemic specific. I know that we are still in the midst of a pandemic, hence you are looking at my kitchen behind me rather than my office. So if you do have any questions about, the current state of the State Library, what's going on, what's going on at the archives, please let me know in the Q&A, and I'm happy to pass on what I know. But I'm going to try during this presentation to keep things very general. So here is what I want us to accomplish today. I know this is a presentation about genealogy from home, but I also want to highlight the importance of in-person research and physical collections. I want to talk about the Pebble approach, and I'll explain what that is for researching in a particular location, especially one that you're not super familiar with. I want us to spend the vast majority of our time not in this PowerPoint, hence my timer, but online, so I can show you some things that I think will help you as you're researching from home. And I also want to make sure that at the end there is plenty of time for answering your questions. This is going to be a very general overview of resources that are available to you both in person, although we'll be emphasizing that a lot less, and remotely. So if you have specific questions or you're a little disappointed that I didn't cover something, please feel free to bring that up in Q&A, and I will respond, as best I can, either live here or follow up with you by email. So let's jump in and let's talk about in-person research and why it's still going to be an important part, even though, I think that a lot of us are now used to and are placing more emphasis of doing genealogy research on home. If you are in a position where you do need to do in-person research, make sure that you look at the repository you're planning to visit first before you actually go. Check their website, make sure you know and understand what the staffing is going to be like, what collections are open to you, what their hours are, and their rules and regulations for being on site. Unfortunately, the reality, and particularly here in New Jersey, many records aren't digitized, or they're behind a paywall, essentially. And you can probably, if something's behind a paywall, you can probably still order the records remotely, but it might be cheaper and easier for you to go in person if that's a possibility. I just want to say, because our collection, and we're going to talk more about the State Library's physical collection in a minute, our collection is not remotely accessible. However, our reference staff, and that's more than just me, is always there for you virtually. And we will try to help you with your research as best we can remotely. One of the examples of things that we do a whole lot remotely to assist patrons who are doing genealogy research is we do city directory lookups. So we have a physical collection of New Jersey city directories. We're happy to go look up an ancestor for you. So that's just an example of how we can help you, even if the collection is not available to you digitally. I want to talk a little bit about what we do have at the State Library. Again, I think the physical collections are important. And even if you can't put your hands on them yourselves, remember you always have virtual assistance from our reference staff. And our genealogy collection is pretty deep. We have an 18,000 item collection, and part of that collection includes over 1,000 New Jersey city directories, plus about 260 non-New Jersey city directories. And we also have a very nice 20th century newspaper collection. In addition to those things, our collection is largely published books. If you come on site to the State Library to do research, we do have an Ancestry Library subscription. We have Heritage Quest and Newsbank, and our Newsbank subscription includes the Historic Trenton Times database. So if you're doing Mercer County or Trenton area research, this is a fantastic resource for researchers. That's a tongue twister. If you are a New Jersey resident, you do have remote access to Heritage Quest through Jersey Clicks with your local public library card. I'm mentioning physical collections specifically, mostly because, state libraries collection does not circulate. And then the New Jersey State Archives, which is the repository for state level records, in New Jersey, and thus has a bunch of genealogy collections, has not made those digitally available. So this is particularly rough on New Jersey researchers who are researching New Jersey ancestors. And you can find some indexes on Ancestry or FamilySearch, but you're not going to be able to find the actual records digitized. So either you need to order remotely from the state archives or go in person to look at their microfilm collections yourself. And then with the state library, either you need to make a research appointment or you need and come on site physically to look at our collection, or you need to use virtual reference with our reference librarians. So that's all of the physical collections. And again, I do want to emphasize that physical collections are very important. You know, a lot of those collections are going to have quick, easy answers to questions that are more difficult to answer in other ways and with the resources that you might find online. So it is important to acknowledge and realize that, you know, in-person research is still going to be part of your genealogy experience. And, you know, if you can't go in person, you may need to go behind a paywall. And unfortunately, that's just reality, and there aren't very many ways to get around that. However, there are still things that you can access from home, and I'm just using the example of the state library. I want you to know what we have to offer you as a researcher. And just so you know, those of you who hear me saying New Jersey, New Jersey, New Jersey, it's not, we have more than just New Jersey resources to offer you. So I've put together something called the Genealogy Research Guide, which is a great tool that I can use to just put a lot of different resources together into a single page, and I can very easily organize the information in a way that's hopefully very accessible to you. I've tried to make this as useful as possible to remote researchers. I have recordings of webinars that I've taught in the past up. I have short pre-recorded genealogy information videos, which we're going to talk a little bit more about later. I have guides and handouts from basic genealogy how-tos to how to research New Jersey specific collections. And then I have a guide to each of the state library, state archives, and county offices genealogy resources. And I've tried to include as many digitized resources as I possibly can. The state library catalog is, and everything that I'm going to put on this slide here is accessible to you 24/7. 365. There are no restrictions. You can get to all of these things and freely use them remotely. The library catalog might be something surprising to you. It's not just good for people who are preparing to make a research trip into the state library, but you may be able to use it to build a book list of books to access online pre-copyright law. And we're going to talk about that later, and I'm going to show you how you can use the library catalog to do this. And remember, we don't just have New Jersey research sources in our genealogy collection. We have many other, we have resources for many other locales available to you. Our city directory catalog is not part of the main library catalog. It's a PDF document that you can look at. And this is more of, it's just a guide to what we have, but it might be useful if you want to do a digital reference request where you want us to do a lookup for you. You can check ahead of time and see what exactly we have available for you. And again, if you need virtual reference assistants. We are here for you, especially if you have a citation or a book, you want us to check the index, something of that nature. Please reach out to us. On the final slide in this presentation, I'm going to have my contact information plus the general reference contact information so that you can get in touch with us and we can try to help you as best we can virtually. So some specific things that may be very useful to you that are not New Jersey specific. The genealogy and quarantine document is a living Google Doc. And I just went through it last week because I knew I would be doing this class to make sure that all the links worked, etc. We had a great program last week on Catholic genealogy research. I'm planning on mining some of the stuff from that class and adding it to the religious genealogy section. So it is being updated continuously. The genealogy and quarantine document is the basis for my genealogy and quarantine class and the genealogy from home class. And basically everything we're going to cover here today is covered in that document. And then in addition, I tried to make this like really useful, especially for out-of-state researchers. I've got links to a bunch of local New Jersey resources, but I also have general US resources and regional, like mid-Atlantic states resources as well. And if you have any additional suggestions for additions to this document, please send me an email and let me know. I'm happy to add things, particularly, sites that you think are great that have awesome digital collections, any ethnic or religious group genealogy resources. Those sections I haven't really had much of a chance to build out. So I'm always looking for recommendations there. If you know of any free online webinars that you would like advertised in the genealogy and quarantine document, I'm absolutely happy to do that. And if you are in the New Jersey general area and you know of any local volunteer opportunities at a historical society, a genealogy society, a local library that's doing genealogy work, I'm also happy to add that. I wanted to talk a little bit about the genealogy information videos, which I made available on the state library, on the genealogy research guide. I wanted to bring these up because if I go a little bit too fast or if I don't cover something thoroughly enough in today's demos, you can look at these because essentially I'm going to be doing a bunch of the same demos that are covered in these videos. These are available via the Genealogy Research Guide again. They're also on the State Library's general YouTube channel. Right now it's a 6-series videos, and we will occasionally update with additional topics as I think of something, Andrew thinks of something good that to add, or any of our other staff or patrons make suggestions of things to add. So if I go a little bit too fast or if I miss something and you don't feel like scrolling through the recording of this video to find out what I said, these genealogy information videos are pre-recorded. They're all less than half an hour long. So hopefully that will be something digestible and useful for you to help guide you through using various resources. Finally, before we go online, and I'm just doing a time check, we're doing good on time, I want to talk a little bit about doing genealogy research by location and using the Pebble approach. I find this is the most useful way to go about genealogy research because it exposes you to the collections that are available in a particular location. And I think you're much more likely to find information that way than starting off by like a religious group or by within a particular subject search. So when I start out and somebody asks me a question about an area that I'm not familiar with. Like if somebody came to me and said, oh, hey, Regina, my ancestor moved from Newark, New Jersey to Minneapolis, Minnesota in 1880. I'm looking for his death record because he died in Minneapolis. Does the Minneapolis state government have something like that for me? And I know nothing personally about Minnesota or Minneapolis genealogy, so I would be like, I don't know. So one of the first places that I go when I have no idea of what is available and how somebody can find something is I will go to the FamilySearch Wiki, which we are going to look at a little bit later. This series of free collections of information is laid out like a Wikipedia page, and it will provide information about what collections, what repositories, and the history of records in a particular area. So if I were looking for Minneapolis, I could try searching either for Minneapolis, a FamilySearch Wiki article specifically on Minneapolis, or maybe I want to go state level, since in my example I just gave you, I'm looking at vital records. So I love the FamilySearch Wiki, and I found it really helpful in identifying where somebody can find collections related to a location. What is the Pebble approach when we are searching? I use the Pebble approach when I'm searching on a website for a particular collection, and I'm thinking about sites that are huge information dump sites. So places like Ancestry, FamilySearch, all of that. So what I do is I picture a pebble dropping into the water, right? And closest to where the pebble drops, you've got a small tight ripple, and then the shock waves that come out from that pebble drop, the ripples get bigger and bigger and bigger. So I use this approach in searching sites like Ancestry or FamilySearch, because if I start broad and unspecific, I get a lot of noise in my search result. So I would rather have you start with that small tight ripple, aka the highly specific and detailed information first, so that you get less noise in your search results. And then as you're not finding the information you're looking for, you go out the ripples and your search gets broader and broader and broader. So that is the approach I recommend for repository, or not repository, for I call them information dump sites, where they have a whole bunch of collections available for you to search. I guess technically they are digital repositories, but that is the approach that I use. So what I might do if I were applying the Pebble search methodology in real world, I might start with a very local resource like a town library or a historical society or something like that, and then move on to broader places. So maybe for my Minneapolis friend, I'm looking at Minnesota first and seeing what state level collections there are before I go down to county resources and then down to the municipality of Minneapolis. And then as I said, when you're searching a digital repository, you're using more exact spelling and dates, and then you're going from there. The one, and this is for, these first 3 points are for things in a language that you are familiar with, probably English or English speaking for most of us. If you're not bilingual, or if you or if you're researching an ancestor in a country that you're really not all that familiar, either with the written or spoken language, I would encourage you to check for a local heritage society for that particular country of origin, and consult with their membership about doing genealogy research in that particular location, and see what they particularly recommend, especially if the language isn't accessible to you. They may be able to hook you up with a local researcher who speaks your language and this other language that you don't know, and can guide you through the records and what they say and what they mean. All right, so that is it for this PowerPoint. What I am going to do is, when we go back into the Q&A, I'm going to put this slide back up. It has the reference contact information, and it has my contact information. And then I'm going to go online and I'm going to show you a few things that we talked about. First, very quick. I'm sorry. Oops. What did I do? I'm sorry. My mouse is no. I don't want to start with families. Let's see what I am doing here. I'm sorry, everyone. The Zoom panel is like blocking my tabs, so I can't see where I'm clicking. So very quickly, what I wanted to show you was the genealogy and quarantine document. You can see that it has a table of contents, so you can jump to particular sections. I have local resources for New Jersey genealogy. I have national and border state resources. I have religious resources, ethnic resources, and then general genealogy resources, and then broad resources specifically for New Jersey. In addition, I've got the volunteer opportunities section. I have the upcoming free lectures, and I also have some fun distractions in here. Again, if you have anything that you would like to see added to this particular document, please let me know. Right now, I think the link access that you have for anybody who is curious is just is read only, but you can download it. So you can't edit directly, but if you have a suggestion or edit, please do let me know. Okay. The second thing that I wanted to show you, and this will take a minute to do, but won't be too long. This is the State Library's homepage. I want to show you very briefly how to build a list of books based on a particular family surname. You can then sort the book list by publication date. You can look for books that were published pre-1925, and you can use that book list you can build a book list of things to search on Google, because everything that was published pre-1925 is no longer under US copyright law, which is very useful, and which means there's a good chance that it's probably been digitized online. So even if you can't access our physical collection, you may still be able to access some of the books also. So if you visit the State Library's homepage, you can search the catalog by going into the Research Library tab, Electronic Resources, and you'll see there's the library catalog there. I also want to point out, if you want to get to our research guides, including the genealogy research guide, there's a link for that under the Research Library. But you can get into the catalog proper by going into Electronic Resources Library Catalog there, but you can also search the New Jersey State Library Catalog right from the homepage. And again, remember, this is accessible to you 24/7, 365, and the State Library's genealogy collection includes more than just New Jersey. So that is something useful. So we have this particular feature because our catalogers very kindly went through the indexes of our books and pulled out all of the surname in a particular book. This is really great because, of course, families are built on marriage. People have a bunch of different last names. So you could potentially find a Jackson and a Washington, a Green, or an Abbott book, for example. So all you need to do to find a listing of all the books in the State Library's collection related to a particular surname is do a subject keyword search on that surname in quotes plus the word family. And if you click search, you will get 28 matches. What I can do is I can go up here, I can sort by the publication date. So it will start with the most recent publication date. The publication information is always going to come under, it's going to come right underneath the author. So you'll see this particular year, 1989. So we know to get to the books that were published pre-1925, we're probably going to have to skip through a few pages because we can see item 10 on this page is 1970. I also want to quickly point out, you can email the entire book list to yourself using this form at the bottom of the search results, or you can select a particular range of numbers. So if you only want to send yourself the ones that are published pre-1925, you can select the appropriate item number from the list, and the item number is right here. So let's see if on page 2 we get anything pre-1925. You can see we're getting close, but no cigar. We're in 1927. Oh, and there we go. So we have our first hit that's pre-1925. So if I wanted to, what I could do is I could email myself this list. If I only was interested in the books pre-1925, it would be items 21 to 28. I could change the search subject. And I could email it to myself, and then it will pop up in my email once I send it. So what I can do if I am interested in this particular book, and you can see under the subjects, it has all of these surnames associated. So when you're doing a subject keyword search, you can't search the catalog for a particular particular individual. It will only search surnames. But if you know you're looking, if this group of families fall into your ancestral lines, these all look familiar, this is probably a good match for your abbot who you're looking for, let's say. So all I need to do here, oops, is copy the title and then paste it in here, and let's see if we can find a free digitized copy. So we can see that we can get this on Google Books, and I know it's also available on Happy Trust as well, because that's where I found it before, but apparently the Happy Trust copy is no longer on the first page. So here it is, and we can do a search within. Let me just show you this. Because I know it's on there because I tested this example before. And of course, it's not working for me. Now, let's see if we can pull it up. So yeah, so there we go. This is really what I was looking to show you. So this is what a digitized book looks like. And you can see on Happy Trust, you'll get this option on Google Books, you'll get this option on archive.org, any other free online digital repository for pre-copyright law books. You can search for a particular name. So if I'm looking for my abbots, it's going to search, and then it will give me a search result. So I can scroll through here, and if I happen to see my ancestor, I can go to that page and see what it says. So I hope that gives you a good sample of how you can use the library catalog to find some pre-copyright law books online. And again, as a reminder, I have a specific tutorial in the genealogy information videos that describes how to do a search like that again. So I want to spend the main portion of our online demo on FamilySearch. FamilySearch is a free online website, and it looks like it signed me out, which is very annoying because I just signed in this morning. It's a free online repository. It's the genealogy branch of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, aka the Mormons. They have digitized many of their records here. And there are certain collections that are only accessible if you're in a family history center or if you're a member of the LDS Church, but many other records are still freely available to you. This is one of the websites where if you go in to do a basic search, like most people, they come here and they go to records and they plug in their ancestor's name. They do a very basic search. As I said, that gives you tons and tons and tons of noise. That really annoys me, and I don't like that. So hence I use the Pebble approach. I really prefer to go in very tight and specific when I start out searching, because on sites like this, it returns less noise. So I'm going to show you how I like to search on FamilySearch. I'm going to show you the FamilySearch Wiki, which is here. And I am going to show you the digital historic image collections, which have some digitized New Jersey County records. And if they have digitized New Jersey County records, that probably means they have other localities, their digitized records within these collections. these records are browsable rather than search. So let's start out with how I search when I'm searching for an individual. Oh, and before we start, this site is freely accessible to you 24/7 from home. However, you do need to create a free email account in order to use it. So I just want to say that. So when I'm doing a search for an individual, rather than going into the records, although I may do that for one of my broader ripple searches when I'm striking out, not finding things, and I want to get less specific, I may just do a general search and see if I can find anything general. But when I'm first starting out, I actually like to go into the catalog. I do a place name. And again, this website is not New Jersey specific. So if you are looking for non-New Jersey, you can put whatever you want in the place name. However, since I know where certain things are for New Jersey, just because I've searched them so many times, I am going to use a New Jersey example. But this works for other localities. So you put in like Philadelphia, you put in Minneapolis, again, you put in Minnesota, you put in California, you put in New Zealand, you put in Switzerland, you could put in Bern, you could put in Paris, France, you know, whatever place you want to try to see what they have genealogy information for, you can absolutely do that here. I am just using New Jersey because there are specific examples that I can show you that are very easy to find. So when you search for a place, it will give you a list of all of the kind of categories of records that are cataloged on FamilySearch. Not all of these are digitized. They're records of what the Family History Library has. Usually, if something is digitized, you'll see the word indexes next to it. That's not always true, but many, many times it is. So if I were looking for an individual, in the 1850 census, and I wanted to search the actual digital collection of the 1850 census, I would go to the 1850 Census Index. Oh, where's my online location? Oh, maybe it's because I'm not signed in. Oh, this is annoying. Thank you. Okay. Let me try that again and see if I can get index. No. Maybe you need to be logged into Ancestry in order to get it. But let's do one thing that I know they will have on. There we go. So New Jersey has state censuses. They start in 1855. They go up to 1915. They're on the 5-year rather than on the 0-year. This is very valuable for New Jersey researchers, particularly around the 1890 census, because as many of us know, the 1890 United States federal census was largely destroyed by fire. There are some surviving records, but not many from New Jersey. And that creates a big 20-year census gap for many researchers. So the state census collection is really valuable for those who are doing New Jersey genealogy. But I picked this because I wanted to show you what an individual search screen is or looks like. So when you come in here and you enter your ancestor's name, you are going to be searching for your ancestor just within the New Jersey State Census for 1885. You're not doing a general record search where the search engine is looking through all collections available on the site to get a hit for you. You're looking for a highly specific result in a particular collection. And as I said, for my smallest ripple, I prefer doing searches in these individual collections like this, so I get less noise in my search results. So in this is an updated interface. I think they did this within the last few months, but they've got a collection guide and advice on how to use the collection. And you can also go through and browse if that is your particular preference. And when we go into the digital images, I will show you what browsing looks like. It's essentially like going through a roll of microfilm just on your computer screen. But I can go through. Let's use my friend John Smith. I can go through and do a basic search. And you can see that it leaves my, my information up here. So if I want to add additional filters to my search and make it even more tight and exact, I can still do that over here. But if I'm very lucky, you know, I find my guy right away. This is my dude. And click on this. I can see all the record details to make sure that I'm looking at the right thing. And then I can go and I can look at the original document. Let's see. And then here is our family that we were looking for down here. So that is just an example of doing a catalog search on a place name. As I said, for family search, because of the amount of noise you get when you do just a general records search, I like this much better because you're going to get way less noise. It may be a little bit more labor intensive because you have to go to individual collection search screens, but I would save the record search for one of my larger ripples if we're talking about the Pebble approach. So when I've exhausted searches and I found everything that I want to, and the tighter, more specific searches, I then go out to the record search and I see what I can do there. Now, FamilySearch has digitized many, many records collection. However, not all of them have been indexed. So the collection we just looked at is a nice index collection where we can just go in, we get the collection interface, we can enter a name, and we can find an individual. There are some records collection that have been scanned and digitized, but they're just not indexed. So they don't have that nice little search interface. You can find those in this historic images collections. This is particularly useful for New Jersey researchers because FamilySearch and the Family History Library has worked extensively with the New Jersey county offices to digitize a lot of their records. And many of those records collections are not indexed. So I'm going to do a search to just show you what these county records look like. Again, I'm using a specific New Jersey example. FamilySearch is not New Jersey specific. You could put in whatever place name you want. I would suggest going a little bit broader because if you're looking for a county records collection, I wouldn't search for the town within that because all of the records, all of the county level records would be at a particular county level, for example. Okay. So if I want to get to the Mercer County records from either the county clerk's or the county surrogate's office, I'm not going to further restrict by a particular municipality because again, these are county level records. What I am going to do is I'm going to filter by legal because many of the New Jersey County records are things like mortgages, deeds, estate records, voting records, things of that nature. What I could do if I really wanted, like if I know I'm looking for a particular date range, I could put in a specific date range here as well. But you can see all of the different records types. And let's say I know that I'm doing some deed research. So I want deed indexes, deed records, and I could scroll through the list and I could see if there's anything else that I think would be a good match for deeds. And I could also add that to my check mark boxes. But for the purposes of this example, since we have 172 deed records here, I'm going to keep this pretty small. So I'm going to update this. And again, like I said, if I really wanted to, I could scroll up. And if I was looking for a deed from 1894 in Princeton, I could restrict to 1894 if I wanted. And then all I need to do is I need to scroll through the volume and find what I wanted. And then, so again, these are not indexed, so you can't search by an individual name. You need to go through every single volume like you would a roll of microfilm. So I like the little thumbnail view. That way I can just kind of scroll through and see what everything is. You can see when we click on an individual index, this particular index is organized by a LUSK key. So we would need to use this so we know what page number to go to in the index in order to find the ancestor names. Many books are organized like this to account for similar surnames with different vowels. So you can catch misspellings or alternate spellings of names. So if you are looking, especially in New Jersey County records, the index book, make sure you check the beginning material and look for that LUSK key. Otherwise, you may be very lost when you try to go into the index and find something. That is my advice in general as well. If you're looking at a deed index or a deed book from another location, always check the beginning material to make sure that you understand how the index is going to be structured. So this is the digital collection. What we could do with this particular collection is we can go through it and then we can find a reference book B, page 527, if we are looking for the deed between Amos and Asa Middleton. We can get a citation for that. We could then go back to our search results and check if volume B is digitized. And then if we go into volume B of Mercer County deeds on page 527, we should be able to get a copy of the deed if that's what we're looking for. Okay. And again, if anybody has any questions or would like a more specific example or non-New Jersey example, please just let me know. And then the final thing that I want to show you, and let's see if it will load, is the FamilySearch Wiki. If I can get it to come up. Come on, you can do it. I'm opening another tab. Oh, it's thinking about it. So again, the FamilySearch Wiki, as I explained before, it's set up like a Wikipedia page, and it will basically give you a breakdown of the genealogy resources available to you. They're in a repository online, what kind of researching options there are, a little bit about the history of the place, of a specific place, a specific topic, etc., etc. So the research wiki, if you use this search form here, it has kind of a controlled vocabulary. So it will pop in text once you start to. So. If I was looking for Philadelphia genealogy resources, I could either go into Philadelphia County, or I could go into the city of Philadelphia resources. and find out what they have. As you can see, they've got a table of contents with a series of jump links where you can select a topic of interest and go and see what kind of resources they have on particular topics. So if we wanted Philadelphia vital records, we could scroll down to that part of the wiki and get the information on, you know, how we go about ordering vital records, who has them, if we can get them anywhere online, et cetera, et cetera. So you can go through the Family Search Wiki to do searches. Again, you are not like you could do. You could do a particular historical event that you are interested in finding records related to. You're not limited to just location searching. So I did want to show you that, but some people find this controlled vocabulary a little bit annoying, how it fills in the topics. So rather than going into the wiki itself, FamilySearch has really excellent web crawlers. So if I was looking for Philadelphia genealogy research search, and I wanted to get a FamilySearch wiki page, but I didn't want to do the controlled vocabulary search, I can just pop it in Google. And then our top results comes up with that Philadelphia County genealogy, Philadelphia County genealogy page on the FamilySearch. So you do have some options about, you know, what you can actually do and how to access the FamilySearch wiki. I advise doing a search with something like, if you're just doing the search in Google and trying to get a FamilySearch wiki page, I advise doing a search like Philadelphia family history. And again, you get that FamilySearch wiki and then the top results. The web crawlers are really good. They usually bring it up in the top 10. So that's everything that I wanted to show you on FamilySearch. And that is all I have for you today. Again, I know this was a very broad overview. I am trying to keep this very broad and accessible for people who are not doing highly specific research. If you have any questions about, you know, something way more specific than what we covered today, I'm happy to answer your questions. Again, the genealogy and quarantine document has a lot more digital resources and digital collections than what I demoed today. So please feel free to use that. And please always feel free to reach out with any reference questions you have. I'm happy to help. I am going to go back into my slides and put up this screen again. But at this point, I'm happy to take your questions. And thank you all so much for coming. I hope you found this useful and I hope you learned something new today.
Right. Thank you so much, Regina. If anybody does have questions, please feel free to send them via the Q&A feature or the chat feature. We'll be happy to answer them. We had a few people asking about the library card and doing research on our website. And I'd just like to clarify some things there. To look through our library catalog, to do your own book lists and all of that does not require a library card for that. Anybody can access it at any time and do that. There are certain databases that are only accessible in the library, such as Ancestry Library Edition. And that is noted on our databases page, as well as what has remote access. I will say that a vast majority of our databases that have remote access are restricted to state employees and members of the Thomas Edison State University community. However, as Regina mentioned before, in regards to at least Heritage Quest, that is available remotely for free through your local public library. So you would need to go and use your local public library card and your local public library's website in order to access that. So I just wanted to clarify some of those access questions. So unless there's anything else you can think of, Regina.
I thought they could get it through Jersey Clicks. I thought you could click on the database and just put in your local public library card, or you need to use the specific link at the top of the page on Jersey Clicks.
So yeah, sometimes that works. Occasionally, if something is updated, and that sometimes it doesn't always work. So I always encourage people to try to go through your local public library's website. They should have the most up-to-date access information. And they might even give you some information on, how to access it and stuff like that. So, but that is available for you for free. So, alrighty. I found an ancestor buried in New Jersey and was told that the cost of the burial was at least partially paid for by the state of New Jersey, and this was in 1929. Where can I find more information about this?
Oh, that's really interesting. Huh. I might need to do some research into that. I've never heard of the state partially funding. Might be in some kind of annual report, depending on whether or not he was a veteran or something like that. It depends on the reason why the state partially funded the burial. I would advise you to send me an email on that, and I would be happy to look into it in greater detail, but I don't know off the top of my head.
All righty. Thank you, Regina. I'm looking for marriage info from Jersey City in the 1860 to 1880 range.
So that will fall under vital records at the New Jersey State Archives. Let's see, their marriage database covers from 1848 to 1878. So there's currently a marriage database that might cover part of your request on the state archives website. You can look up your family member in that particular index, see if they are there. And if they are, you can order the record directly from the state archives. Unfortunately, this is part of what I was talking about in the beginning of the presentation, where I said many New Jersey records are not digitized. So the index is available on the state archives website, but for the actual record, you need to order it from the state archives. For June of 1878 through December of 1880, FamilySearch has an amalgamated index. It's a mixture of New Jersey state records and other private records, mostly churches. They do have a marriage database covering the records that the state archives will have. So you can also use that FamilySearch database. I would highly recommend going to the state archives website first. I used to work at this state archives, and I was responsible for doing one of the vital records indexes when I worked there. And the indexes are in these giant ledger books, and they transcribe the indexes that you see online directly from that. So always go to the state archives website first, do a search there, and see if you can find the record there, because those are taken directly from written index to the records. And then if you can't find anything in that particular database, then I would say go on FamilySearch, do the same thing we did, where you go into the catalog, you put in place New Jersey, you scroll down the alphabetical listing of topics. There's one for vital records, and look for New Jersey marriages, not New Jersey County marriages. That's a separate collection. Those were marriages filed with the county clerk's office. And they're one of the only county records collections that have been digitized, and they're completely different than the state level marriage records. They provide much less biographical information. So check for the general New Jersey marriages, not New Jersey County marriages, if you do look on FamilySearch. And if you would like me to take that up in an email, just send me a message and I'm happy to write that all out.
Don't you need an organization, et cetera, to have full access to Hathi Trust?
I don't think so. I thought it was freely available. They have, I think you need an organization if you're loading files onto Hathi Trust. But if you're unsure about that, or you don't know what you can access from there and you're nervous, I would recommend going on archive.org, which is freely accessible to everybody, and Google Books as well. There are also digitized family history books out of pre-copyright law on both Heritage Quest and on FamilySearch as well. So you do have other options than Hathi Trust if you ever can't get onto it.
What is a Lusk index?
So the Lusk key, and there are several different variations, is a way of grouping similarly spelled surnames together. It basically removes all of the vowels. So that way, if there's any variation in spelling of the same surname, they're all grouped together and you can easily find them. So for example, let's say somebody's last name is Lonnie or Looney, either with two O's or one O's. If you eliminated those O's and all the other vowels, the two spellings have all of the same consonants. So they would be likely to be grouped together on a single index page. It's kind of like this Soundex where they're removing all of the vowels so that similar surnames are grouped together. It's just in a different form. And they do it based on the letters L, M, N, R, T, usually.
Will the FamilySearch Wiki have New Jersey birth and death records that New Jersey vital records do not?
The FamilySearch Wiki is an information page. It will have links to collections and things. It's not a digital repository. It's an informational page where you can go to find information. So I imagine if you went to the New Jersey FamilySearch Wiki and you scroll down through the topics, there would be a section on vital records, and it would tell you where to find those vital records. But all New Jersey vital records are housed and owned either at the New Jersey State Archives or the Department of Health Office of Vital Statistics and Registry. And that depends on the age of the vital records in New Jersey. New Jersey vital records go back to May of 1848, and they continue up through the present. In New Jersey, we are the second state in the Union after Massachusetts, who started in 1841, of continuous vital record collection. So if you can't find a particular vital record in the state archives holdings, it's likely because it's a newer record and it's probably owned by the Department of Health. All of the information on the years the state archives has is on the Genealogy Research Guide. You can also look at their website. And again, if you were looking for something specific, just let me know and I'm happy to follow up by email and tell you where you can find a particular vital record, which office has it.
All righty. In the 1950s or 60s, the US government contacted my family in Philadelphia to propose that they all adopt a specific last name, since our original last name had been misspelled many times and different family members were using different spellings. Any idea how I could find out exactly when this correspondence was sent and all of my family members switched to the federal government spelling?
Hmm. I am not sure. Something like that. I don't know if they suggested that to many to. I would guess that that would be something that they would have suggested to many families. So possibly the National Archives might have some information on that, since it was the federal government requesting. Since you know that they were in Philadelphia, the National Archives has a branch in Philadelphia. They might be a great place to reach out to and see if they have any idea if there's a collection of federal name changes or correspondence relating to name changes. That's pretty cool that the government actually reached out and suggested that to your family, though. If you would like me to look into that a little bit more, please just send me an email and I'm happy to do some looking and checking and see what I can find out.
Where can I find records for cemeteries where bodies were exhumed and reinterred at another site? Specifically, they're looking at Trenton City Cemetery to the Mercer County Cemetery in Hamilton, New Jersey.
Oh, that's interesting. I know sometimes the indexes to vital records at the state archives have burial permits or transit permits where they're transporting or moving a body. But I can't remember whether or not those are bodies moved into, it's interstate essentially, where bodies are being transported in and out of the state, or if it's being moved between cemeteries. That might be a good question to ask the Archives Reference Service about transit permits and burial permits, if that applies to bodies just either being moved in or out of New Jersey, or if it was within. They might have some records at the more local level as well, not city or municipal level, but within the cemetery records themselves. So if the cemetery records are stored at a particular repository, or if the cemetery is still living and active, maybe they still have records of transit or burial permits at the local level as well. Again, if you want me to do some checking, just send me an email. I'm happy to look into it further.
Do other states list the captured dates of vitals? If so, where would I find that information?
Well, other states do have published information on their vital records. Again, I think the easiest way I don't know if somebody has gone through and put together like a comparison of all the states and all of the years of vital records that they have available. But if you are looking for a particular state, you may want to do a search on the FamilySearch Wiki again. Go down to the vital records section, and that should give you the time frame that that particular state collected vital records. Most states, again, New Jersey, I said, started in May of 1848. We're the second state in the Union to continuously collect vital records. So many states are after New Jersey and Massachusetts, which are 1841 and May of 1848, respectively.
In the 1960s, the federal government took my parents' 1766 Philadelphia home through eminent domain to allow I-95 to dismantle neighborhoods and displace many people. My parents fought this in court and lost. The court said that a house built in 1766 had no historical value. Where can I find information about that case?
I would go to either the Historical Society of Pennsylvania or the Philadelphia City Archives. I imagine on the local level, they might have, in addition to, actual court cases, et cetera, they might have, council meetings or other kind of committees that would make decisions like this, and you might be able to find some additional information that way. So that is what I would suggest on the local level, either Historical Society of Pennsylvania or Philadelphia Municipal Archives, and see what kind of information they have. That might not necessarily be part of a genealogy collection, because I'm sure you'll get some great context. You can find the actual city government machinations surrounding that.
Where would I find information about a railroad accident that resulted in a death and a trial? It was at the Hoboken Rail Yard in 1871.
So there are a couple of different suggestions. If you're just looking for, oblique overview information, I'll bet there would be some newspaper articles. You'd be surprised from transcribing vital records and those indexes. They would have notes about railroad injury or railroad accident. And I was surprised how often those were noted in the when I was transcribing deaths. So yeah, if you want some, just coverage about the railroad accident, I would suggest trying a local newspaper. If you want more specific information, you may want to contact the state archives and see if they have the Hudson County inquisitions on the dead. These are investigations into, somebody who died in an unusual way, shall we say. I think a railroad accident may qualify. And there may be some information, especially if they felt there was foul play and there was a trial involved. Perhaps the body was examined by the coroner and you can get some additional information there. Again, those records, I think, are at the New Jersey State Archives. I don't know if they have all of the county inquisitions on the dead, but it's certainly worth looking into.
Can you try muting and unmuting yourself? There's a bunch of static that just kind of came out of nowhere, Regina.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Still a lot of static.
Huh. Better?
No, I don't know what happened. It just started all of a sudden.
Better?
No.
That's weird. I wonder what's going on. Should I try to log out and log back in again?
You can try that.
Okay. I'm sorry, everyone. I'll be right back.
And I apologize for that, everybody. I don't know what happened, but should be logging back in. Those are great questions. I appreciate everybody for asking them.
Andrew, am I still staticky?
A lot better.
Okay, good.
All right. Where can I find a listing of people who died in the Black Tan explosion in Jersey City?
I'm not 100% sure. Again, Possibly, if a newspaper put together an article, they might have a list of people who were killed. I don't know, again, if there would have been an inquest into investigating the accident, if some kind of municipal or county records might have some details on their investigation, depending on who was looking into the particular incident. If you want, you can again send me an email, and I'm very happy to check into it further and see if I can figure out. But I think newspapers would probably report on something like that, and they might provide a list of people who were killed.
Well, I don't see any more questions. So anything you want to any parting wisdom you want to share with us, Regina?
Absolutely. I hope that this was a helpful overview, of what's available. Again, genealogy and quarantine document has so much more detail than what I did. I've tried in that document to link you either directly to digital collections or online indexes where you can search particular records collection. Just remember, I know the situation for New Jersey state level records is very frustrating in terms of, not a lot being digitized. And again, I know that it's kind of frustrating that our collection at the state library is not all that remotely accessible. But there are ways that you can get around that. And just remember, you might need to come in person to get some stuff done. But at least at the state library, we are looking for the best ways to help you remotely as well. And if anybody ever has any questions about whether or not something is digitally available, or, if there's a way that you can get to something without having to come in for a visit, please do let us know. If anybody has any questions about the current status of what's going on at the library because of the pandemic, please feel free to reach out. We're happy to explain, and our entire reference staff, not just me, is here to help and assist in your research. So thank you so much. I'm sorry for the technical difficulties there at the end, and I hope everybody has a great day.